And if you don't want to read the entire book, it's very easy to track it with an app, and I will tell you which one. And I'll also just tell you what you're supposed to be tracking in the first place, so keep on watching. Hey guys, welcome here. If you guys are new to my channel, I am a mom of 2 little kids and I'm pregnant with my 3rd. I wanted to share my tips for conceiving, TTC tips, how we were able to conceive very quickly every single time, basically either on the 1st or 2nd try. Talk about the method that I used and how this method can help you either at the very least, if not help you conceive very quickly, at the very least it will point you in the right direction of where you should be looking into in case you cannot seem to get pregnant, what you should pay attention to. So if you guys are new here, please subscribe to my channel below and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Also, please leave me a comment below where you are in your TTC journey. I would really love to know where kind of everyone is. I will be answering all the comments that I get if you guys have any questions. So let's go ahead and start with this video. But first of all, some tea. So the method that I used is called the FAM method, fertility awareness method. What I bought was this book. So this is Taking Charge of Your Fertility. This is 10th edition, I believe, revised edition, 10th anniversary edition. Truthfully, it doesn't really matter what edition you guys get, as long as you get this. This is literally like a fertility Bible. It's all based on just your physiology and your biology. It basically teaches you to recognize your signs of fertility, look for them, how to find them, how to recognize them. If you're not able to get pregnant for some reason, it shows you what might be the problem, where in the cycle, what might be happening. It's all based on your fertility signs. And if you don't want to read the entire book, it's very easy to track it with an app, and I will tell you which one. And I'll also just tell you what you're supposed to be tracking in the first place, so keep on watching. So there's 3 things. Number 1 is basal body temperature. You take that in the morning. It's called waking temperature, waking basal body temperature. You take that in the morning as soon as you wake up. It has to be early in the morning. Like, it has to be between like 6, I think, and 8 a.m. at some point. I think 9 a.m. is already too late because your body temperature starts rising as the day kind of goes on. So you take this temperature as soon as you wake up, before you get up, before you drink anything, before you do anything, basically. Like, first thing you do, your alarm goes off or you wake up or whatever, and you take the temperature and you put it in the app, in the chart. Now, next thing to track, the second fertility sign is your cervical fluid. So it can be several different consistencies, and you need to kind of familiarize yourself with what's the most fertile. And I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this. In the app, once again, it's very easy to track that as well. So you can have either your menstruation, you can have no fluid, you can have sticky, you can have creamy, you can have egg white, or you can have watery. So those are kind of the main cervical fluid consistencies. And the one that when you're most fertile is, of course, the egg white, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar by now probably. And the least one, of course, is no fluid, or like the sticky creamy kind. Those are not really conducive to sperm surviving in your body, basically. And then the wet one, I think, is also okay for, like, the sperm will survive in that. And then the third one is your cervical position. Now, to do that, you need to learn how to check your cervix yourself. You won't really be able to see it, but you can check it yourself. And what I would do is I would like go into a deep squat, very deep squat, and then when you search for your cervix, you kind of have to do it for like several days, or like a period of several days, to even get like the hang of, like, is it low, is it high, like what's low for you, what's high for you. But basically, when you're not really fertile, it's going to be firm, low, closed, and non-wet. Around ovulation, it's going to be soft, high, open, and wet. And you can feel all that within like one cycle. It changes. And then after ovulation, like after you're not fertile again, it's firm, low, closed, and wet, and then you get your menstruation again. So these are basically the positions of the cervix and cervix kind of structure. Like, it really kind of changes drastically. And if you monitor this, this is like a sure sign that you're ovulating, like around ovulation, it's going to be soft, high, and kind of open. You can monitor that yourself. Now for me personally, and for a lot of people also, even tracking just 1 or 2 of these signs will be enough to tell you like what's happening kind of hormonally and what's happening when you're ovulating. Have you ovulated? All those things, you'll already be able to see what's kind of going on. So it's not really necessary for everybody to track all 3 to be able to tell, but some people, maybe for like peace of mind, they want to monitor all 3. Like when I really was like using it for contraception, I wanted to be sure, so I would check all 3, and the body temperature for me was like the most important indicator, because that's like a clear sign that you've had like a spike in progesterone. That's why your temperature has risen. But yeah, if you're trying to get pregnant and you know how long your cycle is, you kind of know ballpark around when you ovulate, maybe checking just the cervical fluid will be enough for you. Maybe just the body temperature, maybe just checking your cervix. Not necessarily do you have to track all 3, but it is of course helpful. And when you're first starting out with this method, it's probably better to do all 3 just to familiarize yourself with them and to get comfortable and just really know for sure what's going on. And especially if you're having any kind of like fertility problems, it's also really good to do all 3 because it can point you in like the right direction. Like especially the temperature, if you look at all the charts and everything, you can have so many different variations, and so many different issues would be reflected in your chart and in your basal body temperature that you take. Like whatever the problem, like delayed ovulation, your temperatures will show that. If you're not ovulating, your temperatures will show that. So it's very, very interesting. So what I used initially when we were not trying to get pregnant, and I looked into this as like a method of contraception, as a sure method, I used basal body temperature thermometer. This shows your body temperature to the 10th of a degree, so it's more accurate than the regular thermometer. A regular thermometer would not work for this. And those changes in your basal body temperature is what indicates that you have ovulated. So this book does a really amazing job at teaching you about your fertility, about your cycle. It talks all about the different hormones, and the app that I used, the charts even look exactly like this book. So in the book you can see a lot of sample charts like this, where you're tracking your temperature, then the temperature rises. That indicates that you have already ovulated. So once the temperature has risen, you have ovulated, and then it stays high, and then it drops down again as soon as you start your cycle. And there's tons of sample charts like that, and they look exactly like the ones in the app. There's some more, and this is exactly what they look like in the app as well. It can also indicate if you have ovulated at all. Your cervical fluid can go through all these changes, and yet you might not be ovulating. So if you see that temperature spike, that means you have ovulated. But if you don't see it, that means you have not ovulated. Also, the first stage of the cycle can be very, very long. That's also problematic, and that might be the reason why you can't seem to get pregnant or you're having miscarriages. So there's all these things about the cycle that can be outside of the normal range, even though the doctors will be like, oh, it's totally normal, but there is a range of what's normal. And sometimes you're outside of this range, and maybe for you it's not normal. It's important to track these things, and it kind of helps you be more in tune with your body and just know your body a lot better. And this will help you monitor where you are in your cycle, how's your cycle going, when's the best time to try conception. So what we did normally when you're trying to prevent pregnancy, once you kind of figure out around what time your ovulation normally happens, so you do need to do it for a few cycles. Like you need to have kind of like a good idea of when your ovulation happens. You stop having sex a week before that, because an egg actually only survives like 48 hours, but the sperm can survive up to like a week inside your body, especially if your cervical mucus is conducive to that. So if it's like egg white kind of consistency, then the sperm will survive inside your body for a week, so you can still get pregnant. So that's why it's important to stop before that 1 week mark, and then you can start again after like 3 days, 4 days after ovulation, maybe even 5 days after ovulation. So this is when you're trying to prevent pregnancy. But if you're trying to get pregnant, what this book recommends is 5 days before your approximate ovulation, you start having sex. every other day, and you basically have it every other day until like 3 days or so after ovulation. That's the best way to conceive, according to this book. I found that it's a really good method for me to prevent pregnancy in the first place, because I didn't want to have any kind of hormonal contraception. Just my preferences, like I didn't want to be taking anything hormonal, and I'm allergic to certain metals, so I couldn't have like a copper IUD either. And there's really like not many other options other than condoms, basically. Beyond those things, like everything else is hormonal for the female. Didn't really want to keep doing that like long term, like for a little bit. When you're dating, maybe it's okay, but long term, I didn't want to continue with hormones. This method can actually even let you know if you're pregnant before you even miss your period. So when you actually get pregnant, you have your basal metabolic temperature, then you ovulate, there's a spike, then there's like a few days, and then you spike again, and that third kind of level, third step, that usually indicates that you're pregnant. And this is actually how I knew with my first that I was pregnant, is because of this like second rise. I would really recommend buying this book just for reference, even especially if you're somebody who's having trouble getting pregnant. This is a really great book, kind of points you in the right direction of what might be going on. When I read this, I was like, they should teach this to girls, like instead of sex ed, this should be like mandatory. So the app I used is KINDARA. I will put it in the comments below. Also, I'll link my pregnancy test also up. But yeah, it's KINDARA, and they have a community, like a community section where you can just chart for like a month and then show the chart to the community and get like great, amazing feedback from people who have read this book. So if you don't want to like get this huge book and read it, that's something I would highly recommend doing, is just tracking for a couple months and then showing your chart to the community on this app. Also, this app is completely free. You don't have to pay anything for it. All you need is just to get basal body temperature thermometer, and that's really it. Like everything else is at your fingertips. I hope this is helpful, and I really hope you guys enjoy this information. It's a really great book and a really great method, SAHM method. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them down in the comments below. I will answer all of them. I absolutely love this topic. So if you guys are new to my channel, please be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and also if you guys want to see my pregnancy test video, please check it out with this third baby. Also, I'm doing weekly pregnancy updates, so if you guys want to know kind of what's been going on in this pregnancy, please be sure to subscribe and check out some of those videos for you guys. Bye!